guys, Miles here at Tactical Hive, and we always emphasize training and how important it is, but we also have focused a lot more on marksmanship and not really the realistic training that a lot of people call or refer to as force on force. So what we're going to do here at SHOT Show 2020 is take a look at all of the options if you do want to get into force on force, more realistic training with non-lethal ammunition and conversion kits and pistols. So stay tuned. So I'm here at the Simunition booth. They're one of the leading providers of equipment and gear if you want to get into force on force, some non-lethal training. Simunition is one brand, and they do provide what are called conversion kits. So you can use your real gun and actually convert it into using non-lethal rounds. So this is exactly what it looks like, and it's you can see it's designated by a blue upper, a blue slide. And they come in many different models. And this is something that you would add to your weapon to convert it to fire non-lethal rounds. This is a sample of how they look like here. These are markers. You can get marking rounds or non-marking rounds. So that means there's either going to be paint to show where one person gets hit, or there might not be any paint at all. Okay? But beyond that, you're going to need gear because you need to stay safe. And probably the most important is going to be, obviously, your eyes, your face, neck area, wherever there's soft tissue, and even your hands, which is why there are gloves. It's interesting, people who do get into force on force, they instinctively, if they are getting shot at, they'll push their hands out, and let's be real, you're not going to be able to block a bullet with your hand. So Simunition's one of the biggest brands out there. Again, they provide all the gear that you need, but if you're going to get into this, essentially you'll need your protective gear, the non-lethal rounds, as well as a conversion kit from Simunition. All right, so now we're at UTM, another leading provider of force on force training gear, equipment, and I'm with Rick here, who's going to walk us through their major offerings that they have in terms of gear, in terms of rounds, marking and non-marking.
Hey, just real briefly, we'll go through the ammunition lineup, and we'll start off with the silent blank round. The silent blank round is very unique. It's a chambered 9mm in that it has zero standoff, so you can do contact shots. You can use it for DT, use it for weapon retention. It's probably the most meaningful or purposeful uses for it. Then our next blank round would be the BBR, or the battlefield blank round. It has an 18-inch standoff, but you can still do close quarter battle with it, or it has a little powder that comes out the barrel, but not much. Battlefield blank round has a significantly louder pop. The silent blank round hits the silent, it's virtually silent. Then we'll move on to, also in 9mm, we get to the projectile rounds. These are, you have to use a different barrel for the blank rounds. When you switch the barrel out to the blue barrel, which delineates, it's a man marker round, or there's an actual projectile that's going to be coming out of the barrel. This is our patented 9mm round, man marker round. You can get this in red, blue, yellow, or green. It's very important in that all of our 9mm rounds are necked down to a 223 for safety reasons, because we have live round lockouts. So you can't actually load a live round into our conversions. Getting back to the man marker round, we have the only dual Teflon band system, which this actually runs the lands and grooves of the weapon rather than our competitors. Our competitors have a very large dome on the top of their round, and that's what runs the lands and grooves. I'll get to this round in a second. In addition to the dual Teflon banded system, we have a dual primer system. You have the initial primer that actually activates the slide or the conversion as designed, just like a real firearm, because you actually have a primer here. Then you have the second ignition system, which we can control the velocity of our rounds, okay? This is about 315 feet per second, all right? So that's our 9mm man marker round. This is the UTX round that I was just speaking of. If you have one of our competitors' pistols or firearms, you can actually use the UTX round in that. So,
in regards to your conversion kits, I know that you did mention you now have civilian conversion kits. What would be the difference between, let's say, a conversion kit for LE military versus civilians?
We're civilian?
Yeah.
Okay. We do have that's a good question. We do have the civilian shooter kits. We actually have a picture of one that's right here on the wall behind us where the target is, and we're actually giving one away here at SHOT Show. Really the only differences between the civilian kit and the law enforcement military items is, of course, the law enforcement military, all of that's made to military specs. Okay, so you have a little different metal, you have a different process where it's made. It's made to a little higher standard. We also have conversions chambered in 7.62 We have we have over 152 different conversions, mostly for military, of course. As you can see, we have the linked ammunition for machine guns, 240, 240B. Have a wide variety of conversions and different applications.
And you guys are selling the gear as well. I know you're highlighting a few things here in terms of the protective gear. Is there anything that stands out or anything that's unique to what UTM might provide in terms of the actual protective gear?
Oh, yeah. Good question. We have the only PPE helmet, or the personal protective equipment helmet, that provides a 180-degree visual. Okay, so for instance, I'm doing a felony car stop. I'm approaching the vehicle. I'm allowed to use my peripheral vision using this helmet to see peripherally like what's going in the back seat, or if I'm approaching the trunk, from the rear, I'm able to see out the side, either side. So it's well ventilated. We have the anti-fog shield. I also have, all the Southeast. I have a lot of law enforcement academies in Florida that use this. We're also coming out in this same model, the Phoenix helmet with a fan. We'll have it ready here by next year. So you'll have some air circulation and cooling in there. Also on the helmet, you have the front and rear gaiter. It's attached by Velcro, and that just protects the face and neck area and covers the back of the neck.
Awesome. Thanks so much appreciate the overview.
That's the thumbnail version. All right, thank you.
All right, so now here we're at Force on Force, another option for non-lethal training, and I'm here with Casey, who's going to talk us through a little bit of what they're offering. Now, at the show today, they're not really showcasing their entire line. They have their marking and non-marking rounds for Force on Force, but we'll talk to Casey about the differences between the other brands and what Force on Force has to offer.
The biggest difference between us and Simunitions is we don't use powder, right? So we're super, super clean. We have this small little orifice hole here, and that's where all of our pressure builds. And that's how we get the velocity we need and also the function we need. So this is a piston, and that pressure will back build and push that piston back. Sims works the same way, but they have to use powder. So now you get really dirty rounds. And then also when that happens, this bullet, this plastic cup is riding in the barrel and in that rifling, right? So when you get powder buildup and you get really dirty, these things actually will it's called bullet and bore. And so then you get guys who will stack up bullets in their gun. With ours, it doesn't happen, right? In our 5.56 here, I'll show, it's the same exact concept, but now we have this small little copper driving band on it. And so that is the only thing that touches the rifling in the barrel. So you get consistent velocities out of all barrel lengths. And once again, you have no powder, so there's no build of powder and get really super dirty. So you can shoot thousands of rounds in a gun without any malfunctions that way. The next biggest selling point is safety, right? So we have a 1 foot standoff. So we recommend anything 12 inches in back, I can shoot you with. Where Simunition, it's not going to be that way. They have higher velocities. It's much more unsafe that way. So
in terms of the average velocity of, let's say, the 9mm rounds.
Yep, 9mm rounds are pretty comparable. We have a better cup design and cap design that helps break and disperse a little bit better. But 5.56, we're running about like 4 to 450, where they're running about 6 to 650 roughly. So
you guys do offer the conversion kits and gear.
Yep.
Any standouts or anything new in those departments?
So we offer our own 5.56 bolt. And only our rounds work in that bolt. If you buy a Simunition 5.56 bolt for your AR, we also work in that. But Simunitions does not work in our bolt.
Okay.
If that makes sense, right? We work in all Simunition conversion kits for 9mm. And then now Glock has their new blue gun, which is dedicated for us. Okay. So our rounds work in that gun. So it has like a polymer and infused slide. It's a little bit lighter, so it functions as a gun amazing.
So Simunition rounds, UTM rounds, they wouldn't work with the Glock pistol.
In that one, Simunitions would. 9mm or UTM does not.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. So Force on Force, since we've got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Casey. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks. So there you guys have it. The three major brands dealing with Force on Force training. They are Simunitions, Force on Force, as well as UTM. Now, it's important to note that when you work with all three, or if you do want to buy from all three of brands here, that actually only Simunitions and UTM have a program for civilians where you do have to pass particular requirements, get trained so that they know that you'll be safe when you are conducting the training. But they do allow civilians to buy their products, but again, there are certain requirements to that. They have to know that you're certified or a trainer. Force on Force, however, surprisingly, I thought they did offer it to civilians, but currently they are not offering it, but there might be plans in the future to offer their products to civilians. In any case, 3 major brands for Force on Force training. We really recommend that you guys look into them, because if you are trying to really prepare for life-threatening, real altercation, deadly force altercation, then you do want to include Force on Force training into your training regimen.